Welcome to the No Fear Job Search webinar series. My name is Linda and I am the marketing specialist here at Jobscan. If you are not familiar with Jobscan by now, we are a Seattle-based company dedicated to building the best online tools for job seekers. And this is our second year of doing this webinar series and also Miriam's second year presenting. So thanks for coming back and joining us, Miriam. And no matter where you're at in your job search today, we hope this event helps you in some way. Today we have Miriam Spinner presenting on how to make your LinkedIn a recruiter magnet. And all these sessions are being recorded. And as this series wraps up, we will be uploading them to our YouTube channel. They should all be up in the next couple weeks. And you can also find those recordings up at jobscan.co/no-fear as we upload them too. Before I hand it over to Miriam, I'd like to go over some general rules. So we recommend that everyone have their view set to active speaker mode in Zoom so they can see the presentation. To ensure that everyone has a good experience free of distractions, you'll notice that we're keeping you on mute and your videos off for the duration of the session. But with that being said, we'd still like to hear from you and engage with you. So there is a text chat feature in Zoom that you can utilize to submit questions or comments to Miriam throughout her webinar. And myself and my colleague Jess will be monitoring that chat and saving relevant questions for Miriam until the end of her presentation. We do ask that you try and keep your questions to a general nature and related to today's topic, which is LinkedIn, and we will do our best to relay them over to Miriam. There will also be a few interactive moments in today's webinar, as well as polls that you'll be able to participate in. But we just ask that you keep any networking or link sharing until the end, because we do want to reserve the chat for those. And one more thing before I hand it over, we are offering 20% off a Jobscan Premium membership for new and free members today. And you can find that promo link throughout today's webinar. But with that, I am excited to turn it over to today's presenter, Miriam Spinner. Miriam, thanks for joining us for a second year and for taking the time to present today. Welcome, and feel free to take it away.
Okay, well, thank you. It's great to be here. And so, hi, everybody. So happy to be part of the Jobscan family and to talk to you today about LinkedIn. So let's get started. LinkedIn is all about connections. So let's go ahead and say hello to each other in the chat box. Go ahead and enter in you can enter in your current role, or you can enter in a target role. And the reason why we're doing this is so that we can get to know each other, and maybe you've got common roles that you're targeting so we can connect. Oh, and don't forget to enter in your LinkedIn URL. So what you may want to do is go to your, you can copy paste, see if you can copy paste it, or you can, enter it in, or you can just enter in your name and people can find you through LinkedIn by entering your name.
Great. Yeah, feel free to drop your comments in the chat. We have a lot of different jobs and occupations in today's webinar, which is really exciting. Career counselor in higher ed, senior technical program manager, IT project manager. Jason's looking to become an actuary.
Cool. Oh yeah.
Manager, student employment services, just such a diverse range.
Cool. Yeah. That sounds like and you can keep on entering it in while I talk, so you can keep on connecting with each other. Okay, so if any of you know me, especially in last year too, I like to give out gifts and I like to have fun. So what I'm going to do today is I'm giving out a gift, but here's the thing. It's going to be at the end, so stay tuned for the surprise. Okay, so before we start, a little bit about me. So 3 things you might want to know about me. One is that my clients tell me that I've got a lot of energy and I'm like the energy bunny and I just never run out of steam. And the second thing is that clients tell me is that I showcase their superpowers. And I find that all the time where you've got such great skills and such great accomplishments, but you don't showcase them. So that's my favorite thing to do. And the third, which is I came from corporate. I spent many, many years there. And most of it was actually at American Express as a corporate leader. Okay, let's go ahead and do our first poll. What is your top fear?
You should all be seeing the polls on your screen right now. Feel free to vote in that. So what is your top fear? A, profile. I don't know how to create one that attracts recruiters. B, platform. I don't know how to use LinkedIn to get the job I want. Or C, both A and B. And we'll just give you a couple seconds to get your answers in.
Okay, and I'd be curious, let's see.
Great.
What do we have so far?
Thank you for voting, everyone. Let's
Yeah.
see. Yeah, so it looks like most people said C, both of those are their top fears, with over half of people answering C.
Okay, good, because we're going to actually cover both. So we're good. Okay. All right, thanks for doing that. Okay, so there's a CEO of a recruiting company, and he had a lot of resumes. He wanted to visit his top client, and his top client said, "Look, I want you to bring a lot of resumes." Of course, this was pre-COVID. So he sits down right next to him. He takes all the resumes, he puts them on his desk. And what does this client do? And he was a senior at, he was a CEO of his own, the client was a CEO. He takes every resume and he looks at the names and he enters the names on LinkedIn. So that tells it all, is that LinkedIn is where the party is at. They are checking you out. They're Googling your name. They're seeing you first on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's got really high optimization on Google. So LinkedIn's where the party is at. Okay, so for those of you that are not as familiar with LinkedIn, or maybe you are, I'm going to sum this thing up. It's like going to a party. Make it really simple for you. So you finally make the decision. You're going to leave your comfort zone and you're going to go to this party, and you don't know anybody. So you're a lot scared. But what do? You get your hair done. So you get your hair done, you shine your shoes, you put your suit on, put a really great, or maybe not a suit, but you put a great top on, and you're finally ready to go to the party. But what don't you do? You don't open the door. And it's really important to open that door because you got to start meeting strangers. So LinkedIn is the exact same way. You get your profile done, you look great, it looks perfect, you got great optimization, but you don't talk to digital strangers. So that is why I'd like to spend a little bit more time on opening that door. Okay, it sounds like lots of you want to hear about how to create a profile too, which is great, but let's spend a little bit more time on opening that door because people just don't do it. Okay, so before I talk about opening that door, what I'm going to talk today is about 3 fatal flaws. These are things that I see all the time with my clients. So I'm going to talk about three fatal flaws so you don't do these. The next thing I'm going to talk about are these 3 fundamentals, 3 basic things that I want you to know as you get started on LinkedIn. And the last will be those footsteps, those 3 footsteps, so you could open the door. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So fatal flaw number 1 is you don't know what you want. So Dorothy knew that she wanted to see the Wizard of Oz. And that yellow brick road made it really easy peasy for her so that she could get what she wanted. You got to know your Wizard of Oz so that you can create that yellow brick road. Otherwise, you're going to waste your time on LinkedIn. And so what I'm talking about is you got to know that you want to be a IT project manager. You got to want to know that you want to be an account manager. You got to want to know that you want to be a product manager. I see it over and over again that you don't know what you want. So then figure that out before you get on LinkedIn. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of your time. Now, for those of you that are struggling to figure out what you want to do next, I've got a gift for you. And it's called Pulse Plus V. And what it is it's really going to get you started. It's going to get you started on knowing yourself so you can figure out knowing what you want. And there's 5 elements to it. It talks about purpose. It talks about what your values are, what's your superpowers are, what's different about you, your energy. And so I'm going to go ahead and Jess, can you add that? Can you add that into the link so people can use it? It's a video.
Yep, got it.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'll be interested to hear what people think. So let me know in LinkedIn. Okay, here's something else. Here's another way to get you started. So if you're feeling stuck, right, you're really burned out and your brain is sitting in this negative place, what you want to do is you want your brain to learn how to be with positive energy in a positive place. And you want it to dominate more. So let's say, for example, that you see a job that you really, really like, but you look at the requirements and you see that you don't meet all the requirements. So what do? And frankly, what a lot of people do is they just don't apply. Well, that's your negative. Yet the negative part of your brain talking to you. Don't apply. You're never going to get it. Don't bother, right? So what I'm going to be giving you is a way for your positive energy to say to you, no, Jess, you can apply, you can do it. So go ahead and do it. So here's this gift, another gift I'm going to give you. It's an assessment. So Jess, if you could enter in another link in the chat box, what it is when you click that link, there should be a blue box that is a 5-minute assessment, and it's no cost. And you take it and it will tell you about if you're dominated, where your negative parts of your brain are, what's happening with them. Okay, you got that in the chat box?
Yep, it's added in there. And for anyone who's, if you click the actual link within the chat box, you should be able to go. You don't need to do any copy and pasting. I saw there was a little confusion around that. So just click it.
Okay.
You should be good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So here's the thing. If you don't know what you want, I just gave you 2 tools to help you. Okay. All right. Okay. So second fatal flaw that I see is that I read a lot of profiles on LinkedIn, and people just don't tell me how they move the business. How do they make impact? So as a hiring manager, which I was one, you want to see, for example, that you reduced cost by $500,000 annually, or maybe you improved customer satisfaction by 20%. So I'm going to talk a little bit more later about accomplishments, but for now, I got another gift for you. What this is, and Jess, if you could enter this into the chat box, it's an exercise. So it's an exercise to help you write down your accomplishments and write it down in a way where I know what you did and I know your impact. Okay, so Jess, you enter that in?
That in the chat right now.
Yep, that was added.
Okay. All right, now we're going to talk about the third fatal flaw, and that is, you know what? Your mom never told you to talk to strangers, but I'm telling you, talk to strangers. Here's why. You get jobs faster. I see it over and over again with my clients. I had a recent client. She connected with a stranger. It was a hiring manager, and she used this really cool, unique approach. I'm going to tell you a little bit later about it, but here's the bottom line. She got 3 interviews, and she just recently told me that she thinks she's got the job. So it works. I've seen it work over and over again. Oh, and by the way, I got myself a job when I was in corporate. I reached out to a stranger on LinkedIn, got engaged. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but it was all about creating that relationship. I had a panel interview. I got the job. She was one of my favorite managers that I reported to. Okay, now let's do a recap about the fatal flaw. So I talked about 3 of them, but here's what I want you to get out of this. You got to know who you are and what you want before you even go on LinkedIn to get that job you want. Okay, all right, now it's your turn to talk. So what is one thing that you will commit to do regarding those 3 fatal flaws?
Yep, feel free to drop your comments in the chat, and we'll read some of them out loud. A couple people said showcasing my accomplishments. Jason says reaching out to more strangers, talking to people more often, connecting with folks on LinkedIn, reaching out more, becoming more comfortable talking to strangers, doing the pulse exercise. That's great. Patricia says using those tools that you shared. Adriana says more informational interviews with those in my field.
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Informational interviews. That's really good to do. And we can talk about how to do it. My clients do it all the time. I did it myself. So yeah, I've got some good stuff I'm going to show you in a bit.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Good. Okay, now let's talk about fast fundamentals. So these are the things that it's basic things that I want you to learn about LinkedIn so that you can get really comfortable with it and get you started. Okay, so actually I cheated. There's actually 6, but I'm going to talk about 3. And if there's time, I'm happy to talk about the other 3. Okay, so let's talk about the 3. The 3 today that I want to talk about is, one is the LinkedIn algorithm. And the algorithm, that's about how to show your profile when a recruiter or a hiring manager is, searching for someone just like you. How do you pop up first on top or second? We'll talk about that. The second is comments. I love comments. I do it all the time. I just did one this morning. So I do it pretty much every day, and it works like gold. So we'll talk about that. And then the third are connections. It's kind of, so the thing about connections is we all accept invites, or maybe some of us don't, but we just don't take that step further. And what's really interesting is I just did a post on connections, and it created so much controversy and discussion. Got 100 comments, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about, we're going to talk about now about connections. Okay, so let's do a poll first. Do you accept an invitation request from anyone?
Yep, everyone should be seeing that poll now, so feel free to get your answers in. It looks like most people are voting no. About 72 to 73% say no.
Okay, see, now that's really interesting to me because I'm going to want to learn about why people say no. So maybe as I continue on, if you want to continue on the chat and tell me a little more about why those that said no, I'd be really interested. Okay, so yeah, and I just with just the results that I just did a few days ago at LinkedIn. So I had 2,000 votes. And most people, it was more 60-40. So most people said no, but a lot, about 35-40% said yes. So let's talk about that a little bit. So there's this controversy, it's like a conflict going on about whether you should accept an invite or not. So one school of thought is connect with everybody, because if you connect with everybody, then you've got more opportunities. And then the other school of thought is only connect with people that you want to attract. So one's very broad and the other one is very narrow. So for example, for the ones that say, oh, I'm only going to connect with the people I want to attract. An example of that would be, let's say you want to work for Jobscan and Jess sends you an invite. So from that perspective, you would accept from her because she's from Jobscan. But if I sent you an invite, you wouldn't accept from me. So that's one perspective. The other one would be you would accept from both of us. So now I have a hybrid perspective. So the way I do it is I accept from everybody, but I've got caveats. So one is, I look at your profile, I check you out, see if there's any red flags, take a look if it's a bot or something fake, maybe there's no picture, maybe there's not a lot of information. So if you don't pass that threshold, then I won't connect with you. But when I do accept, which is, I would say more than less, if you're someone that I want to attract, then I take it to the next level and I actually engage with you. And it could be maybe a comment, maybe it's a post, maybe I'll join your groups. And I think that's the difference, is that second level of engagement. So go ahead and send me an invite right now on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with all of you. And actually, could you enter in my LinkedIn URL?
Sure.
Yeah, feel free to connect with Miriam.
Okay, now let's talk about, continue on with connections. So here's an illustration. Let's say here you are, here's you, and here's me, and here's Jess. So let's say I send you an invite. So then we're a first connection, we're friends. But what's your relationship with Jess? Well, you're a second connection with her. So you can think of her as a friend of a friend. So my favorite thing to do is to leverage that friend relationship when you want to talk to strangers. So for example, if you want to work for Jobscan and I'm connected with Jess, then you can talk to me and you could say, hey, Miriam, do you know Jess? Or I'm really interested in Jobscan. I like to, learn more about it. And maybe what I could do is I could do a shout out to Jess and say, hey, Jess, there's someone that connected with me. This person wants a little bit, learn a little bit more about it. Would be okay if you, sat down and, had a little online chat for a few minutes. That common connection or that person works a lot better than these cold connections. And I'm going to talk a little more in a little more detail about how to do this. Okay, so let's talk a little more about connections. So what I like about having a first connection is you can send direct messages to each other for free. Now, if you've got premium, which I have, then I can be a third connection with you and I can still send you a DM and you can still send me a DM. So if you don't want premium, then go ahead and do the first connection because it's really, you want to send DMs to each other. Now, here's the thing I really like about First Connections is I get the notification. So I get to know what's going on with my First Connections through my notification feed. And LinkedIn optimizes it. They tell me right away, whether my first connection is commenting and posting. And here's another third one that I really like is the ranking. So if I'm a recruiter and you and I are first connection, then guess what? If I enter in, say, account manager and you're an account manager, oh yeah, it's going to pop up. Your firsts are going to pop up first. And for me, I always say there's that potential future opportunity. And it happened to me. It was a stranger and it didn't happen just once. Many times I've met a lot of strangers on LinkedIn and I've gotten really, really amazing opportunities. So that's my take on it. Okay, so now that we talked about connections, now let's talk about comments, which it's something, it's a daily practice for me. As I said, it's gold. I don't see a lot of people commenting. Job seekers just don't comment. So what I thought I would do is here, I'm going to show you an example of one that I did that this one was about they're talking about the Great Resignation. And the question was, should you just quit? And actually I did that. Or would you plan it first, right? Don't quit, but just create like a robust plan with your search strategy. So here's what I did. Hopefully you can see this. What I did was I titled it. So you want to have a cutesy little title. Don't do what I did. And then I talked about how my Great Resignation came prior to COVID. And it was when my brother passed away. And there was a lot of confusion. I was totally like lost and I quit. So what I wrote was what I should have done. And I talked about these 3 pointers. And if you can see, I got a lot of conversation out of it. And it was just a comment. And I got a lot of replies and a lot of likes. So when you comment, you can share your thought leadership. And it's a great opportunity for you to get noticed. Okay, now let's talk about the LinkedIn algorithm. And it's kind of like remember the party that you went to? Think of the algorithm as if like the police are already there, right? They're controlling the party. So it's really same for the LinkedIn algorithm. They control lots of stuff, but let's talk about what you can control. So here's an example. So this is an example of what a recruiter looks at when they're trying to find you. So hopefully you can see this too. So the first thing they do is, and this is Recruiter Lite, I believe. So what they do is see where it says job title? They enter in a job title. So let's say this, for example, says account manager. So let's say you're an account manager. They enter, and this recruiter, let's say I'm a recruiter and I'm entering account manager. So that's the job title. But the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a location. So for this example, I entered in Atlanta, Georgia. So the LinkedIn algorithm, let me back up a little bit. When I entered an account manager and you have account manager as your job title, the algorithm likes it. So you just got points because it's like a match. The second thing that I'm going to enter is location. So if I enter in Atlanta, Georgia, and let's say you live in Seattle, Washington, then the algorithm doesn't give you points, right? Because it's not a match. Now, let's say for skills and keywords, let's say you happen to you're an account manager, but you happen to have really strong project management skills. And that's in your skills section. It says project management. So if I enter in project management here as a skill, guess what? The LinkedIn algorithm likes that. You just got more points. And when you get more points, it means that when I search for you, you're going to be higher on the list. Now, here's something else to think about. Your profile status. So go ahead and look on your profile and make sure you have an all-star status. It's on your dashboard. Look to your right. The algorithm definitely gives points if you've got an all-star status. And what it means is that you completed your profile. Okay. And by the way, a source of my information, because there's a lot of talk on LinkedIn about what the algorithm does. And I did a lot of research on this, and there's this, well, Jobscan, by the way, had a really good article about the algorithm. And I looked at studies that were done by these gurus and I tested it myself. Okay, let's continue on with how the recruiter finds you. So let's say I'm the recruiter and I'm continuing on, and I want to continue on with the kind of person that I want on top of my list. So this one says engage with talent brands. So what that means is, are you actually engaged on their company page? Do you have any interaction? Did you like? Did you comment? So here you see that 575 people popped up that they engaged on that particular company's page. And here's another one. Are there any company connections? And so what that means is, do you have any first connections with people that work at their company? So that's why I am in favor of connecting with a lot of people, because it gives you an opportunity to get higher on the algorithm. And another one is open to work. So there's an option on your profile, whether you're open to work or not. If some recruiters want to search for people that clicked on that, they can do that. There's this controversy going on LinkedIn also about whether recruiters want to look for people open to work. Because let me back up. This one, by the way, is the one that says open to work for recruiters only, because you have that option to toggle open to work for recruiters or open to work and keep it public. This one is specifically for recruiters. And by the way, if anything I say it doesn't make sense to you, go ahead and let me know in the chat box, and I'll explain when we have time later. Okay, and here's something else something else that's important for you to know about the LinkedIn algorithm, and that is network with recruiters. So if I'm a recruiter and we're first connection, then you're going to be top on the list. So that's something also to think about. And if you're really interested in the algorithm, to go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to give you more information on it. Okay, so since I love this LinkedIn algorithm, we're going to have some more goodies for you. So now this particular feature, right now, it looks like they're only offering it to premium. I did see some LinkedIn members that didn't have premium and they were rolling it out. Sometimes what they do is they do a pilot and then they close the pilot. So this one, for example, is if you go to your dashboard, there you're going to see 3 numbers. The number to your right, where it says search appearances. If you click that, it's going to give you some really cool information. And if you scroll down a little bit, my favorite is where it says keywords your searchers use. And what this means is that if I'm looking for you, these are the words I used to try and find people like you. So for example, if I'm an industrial engineer and these are my keywords, and let's say, okay, I don't mind operations manager, that's cool, but no, equipment engineer, I don't want to be found if people enter in equipment engineer. So what you can do is you can adjust your profile, and I'll show you, we'll talk more about the keywords and how to adjust it. But this is definitely something I would definitely recommend you use. Okay, so now let's do a recap of the FAST fundamentals. And that is the 3 C's. It's connect, comment and interact, and control. You control for the LinkedIn algorithm, just the 3 C's. Okay, so what's one thing that you will commit to doing regarding the fundamentals? go ahead and tell me in the chat box. Tell us in the chat box.
Yes, please drop it in the chat box and we'll take a look at some answers. Stephen said commenting. Mary says reviewing the keywords used to search for me. Yeah, a lot of folks are saying to comment more and engage, engaging with companies as well. Yeah, checking out the keywords that recruiters use to search for me, making sure the algorithm works in my favor, completing my profile and commenting, finalizing my profile to get all-star status.
Okay, good. We'll talk about profiles in a minute. Okay. And by the way, just to remind everybody, I said commit. So I'm saying you gotta commit, take action, right? So I'm so happy to hear that a lot of you are committing to taking action from my talk. Okay, cool. All right, let's go to this is the footsteps of how to open the door. But here's the thing. Step one, the profile, we're not opening the door yet. No. We're opening the door on step 2 and step 3. So let's get dressed up, and then we will talk about people in practice. All right, now let's talk about the profile, because a lot of you said in the poll that you were struggling with the profile. So let's talk about the headline first. So if there's one thing that I want you to do with your profile, is make sure that headline is captivating. Why? Because it's prime real estate. So the first thing I see is your headline, and I see it on mobile. I see it in direct messaging. I see it everywhere. So make sure that you work on that headline. And here's another thing too. When people Google your name and your LinkedIn profile pops up, what do we say? It's your headline. So you want to captivate the reader, and guess what? You got to do it in 7 seconds. Okay. So now let's talk a little more about what's important. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. So the first thing to think about is those keywords. So you want to make sure that you know what your keywords for your targeted role are. So in this example, she's got streaming distribution, digital media sales, contract negotiation. By the way, emphasize those hard skills. So in project management, it's maybe agile, maybe there's a specific, maybe it's risk management. So keywords are really important. The second thing, and by the way, as far as tools goes, and I think I mentioned Jobscan for identifying top keywords. I also use TagCrowd and WordCrowd. Okay, so now let's talk about symbols. Another thing that you can do with your headline is separate those keywords. Now, my favorite is the vertical pipe, but I've seen all kinds of symbols. I think the point here is just make sure that it's really easy to read. And then the third thing is a lot of people do taglines. This particular example of a tagline is, I like it because she's got some numbers in there. She talks about the impact that's really, captivating. It depends on how many keywords you have. You got 120 characters. So if you've got a lot of keywords, then go ahead and you think they're important, then you don't need a tagline. The other thing I wanted to mention was to showcase your personality. I really like it. This example doesn't, but I really like it when I see something a little bit about you. So maybe there's a particular sport, or maybe there's a hobby that you have, but be really specific. Don't just say, I like fiction books. Tell me what book you like. And if you'd like to look at my profile, I don't play that good, but look at my profile, ukulele. I'm learning how to play it, so I just wanted to show you. Okay, here's another tip is I do see sometimes people have an action at the end where they say, DM me or let's talk. That's okay too. If you think if your keywords are really robust and you think you've got some extra space, you can do that too. All right, well, let's do an example here. So I don't know if Sonal is on right now, but she did give me permission to share her headline. So she contacted me before the webinar, and first of all, I want you to see what I saw. So this is a DM. And if you notice, where'd my eyes go? Right to her headline. So that's the first thing that I'm reading. So since she wanted help, let's go ahead and do this together. So I looked at her profile and she said, okay, I see that she's a project manager. And so now if you were on, say hi, don't be shy.
I think
So,
I've seen Sonal in the comments.
oh, yay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Sonal.
Yeah, hi Sonal.
Okay. So and go ahead. She can give feedback because this is live feedback. So she's a project manager and she works in clinical research. And what she wanted to do is she wanted to highlight her transferable skills. So here's my thoughts, and go ahead, everyone can chime in. First of all, the first thing I saw was when I saw the middle name here, the first thing I'm thinking about was, okay, wait, do we need to have that? I wasn't sure if it was her middle name, maybe it was a nickname. And when I saw that she was certified, she's PMP certified. So for project managers, that's really good to have. So that was something that I would want to showcase right away. So what she can do is if it's okay, and I haven't talked to her yet, but if it's okay for her not to include sane, then she could use that space, put a comma, and put PMP. That's gold. And then the second thing is the keywords. So when I looked at her tagline, it really, I mean, sure, it's great that they want to make the world a healthier place, but does it tell me about Sonal, right? I want to know really quick about what she's, what she's done in the past, what are her accomplishments, what are some of the things I can like pick up real quick. So instead of having a generic tagline, be specific about you. So go ahead and here's some examples of some project manager keywords, right? It's first of all, put project manager in there. All of these are very transferable, whether it's agile. I think I saw that she was had some vendor management experience, Lean Six Sigma, maybe they've defined requirements. Also, I think it's totally okay if there's space to put that you're an MBA candidate. I like that. That's really cool. And then also, I gave you a tagline as an option for project managers. What's really important is that you exceed your timelines. And so you can showcase that you do it, put a number in there, and you can say an average. So that's pretty much, that's what I have for Sonal. What does Sonal think? Anything she wants to add?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this new headline, Sonal?
Which I think she's probably, all feedback is golden. She wrote.
Feedback. Yes.
But what does she say? Because I can't. Did she say it makes sense to her?
She says all the feedback is golden.
Oh, great. Yay. Okay, good. Okay, great. Okay. Something else too, and I mentioned this before, but I want to mention this again. Use the tools, and there's lots of cool tools out there. And of course, Jobscan's got a really cool tool. I use it all the time. What I use, they've got this really cool report, and it shows you the hard skills. And I love that because it's really important to showcase your hard skills first. And another tool that I use, in fact, I just started using this one. It's called Key Search. Keysearch.com. What I like about that is it tells me on Google how popular is it. It even talks about the quality of the keywords. So go ahead and check that out. And then of course there's all kinds of, I use Tag Crowd all the time, but there's all kinds of word cloud that you can use to identify your keywords. In fact, it's one of the first things I do is identify my clients' keywords. Okay. Now let's talk about, you guys said you want to talk about the profile. So let's talk about the profile section. The about section is really important. Why? Because you want to have an engaging sentence. If you don't have an engaging sentence, boring, I am asleep and I'm going to scroll. Don't put the reader to sleep. So start off with something that's really engaging and you can tie it in with what you do. So here's two examples. One was, she tells me right away that she grew up, she wanted to do something in fashion. Okay, but here's what I really like is that she tied fashion and tech. Now here's something else I like to. This this one gave an example about how she trucked 21 days. Oh, I like that. And what I really like, because that's kind of cool. Wow. And then she did it with Everest at the base camp, but she tied in how that experience is what allowed her to have a different perspective on food. So she's a nutritionist. So she tied in that experience with her craft. And by the way, I've seen plenty of engaging sentences that start off with an accomplishment statement like this one. That's fine too. So let me talk a little bit about, so now I talked about the engaging sentence. Let's go talk about more about the other part that's I think is important about your about section. And that is an accomplishment statement, accomplishments, your top accomplishments. And the reason is because you want to incent me to keep on reading, right? And you want me to stop the scroll. So as a hiring manager, I want to know what your accomplishments were in the past. So you can tell me here, and here's an example of one where I talk about, start with an action word, tell me what it was, and tell me the result. You can aggregate your accomplishments, you can put your top accomplishments, or as I said before, you can start off an engaging sentence with accomplishment. That's, I like the other ones better, but hey, this works too. Okay, now let's talk about other tips. So we've got white space. It's really important. It's easier for me to read. Make sure you've got headers, like you can say headers like, this is what I do, or here's what's different about me or my strengths. Tell me what you do like early on, because I don't want to figure it out. Make it easy for me. And something personal is always a lot of fun. And contact information, here's something I thought was really cool. I was reading an about section the other day, and he wrote, if you're searching for an accountant that improved client satisfaction, or it was account manager, that improved client satisfaction year over year by an average of 20%, contact me. So that's you can have a fun way of reaching out instead of going to the URL. Okay, I'm just concerned, how am I doing on time? Do I need to, Jess, am I okay?
Let's see, we have about 12 minutes till the top of the hour.
Okay, I'm gonna go fast then. Okay, so here's an example of, I thought this was really, really neat, where this was I crafted the profile and I asked for feedback. And what he said was, what it helped me was, maybe I didn't reach out, but when the hiring manager wanted to check me out again, he went back to my profile, and that's what created his decision. So I wanted to point that out, that even if you don't want to open the door, you got to make sure you've got an attractive profile. Okay, so I'm going to do really quick now. The profile recap is about just keywords in your headline, and don't be boring. Okay, and I'm going to be really quick on this. Can you just tell me a couple people, maybe chat?
Yeah. So what is one thing you will change in your profile after today? Feel free to drop your comments in the chat.
How about just do one or two?
Updating my about section. Sonal also agrees with that. Working on my headline. Yep, the tagline. Yeah, a lot of folks are saying just updating the about section and the headline.
Okay, cool. Okay, now let's talk about the next one, which is people. So I had a client that had a traditional role, it was in the hospital, and she was looking for a non-traditional. She had a traditional role, she wanted to have a non-traditional role. She wanted to work in tech. And so what did she do? She looked for people that were living in her ideal role on LinkedIn, and she connected with them, and she had conversations with them. And she ended up taking that from what she learned from those conversations. She created a new role and she pitched it to a startup. And guess what? She got the job. So here's my point on this one. Here's Adam Grant. If you want to be like Adam Grant, then talk to Adam Grant. Don't be shy. So I want to talk a little more about direct messaging to strangers. Why? Because no one does it. No Everybody does it. If you want to set yourself apart, leave your comfort zone and direct mail. Okay, so I'm going to run through these really quick because of time constraint. These are tips I want to give you about how to direct message. One, be curious. And what I mean about that is be curious about their products. Maybe you heard of their CEO doing something special. I can tell you what I did. There was a keynote, there's a conference that I listened to. The hiring manager was a keynote speaker. I listened to the whole thing. So when I direct message her, what did I talk about? I talked about how I loved her keynote. I talked about what resonated with me. And I also gave her some ideas on thought leadership. Yeah, I got the job. Be curious, do your homework. Another tip, praise, be authentic when you praise. What drew you into this person? What drew you into the company? I can tell you something. I love Nike shoes. I've always loved Nike shoes. Whenever I meet someone from Nike, that is the first, it's totally authentic. I tell them about which Nike shoes I buy. It works, share it. Find commonalities. It could be outside of work. It doesn't matter. It could be sharing, maybe you have the same city, maybe you visited that city, maybe it's a LinkedIn group. And this one I talked about before, this works the best, is if you have someone in common, make sure you connect with that person, you talk to that person, and you can even mention that person's name when you direct message. People just are more likely to respond when they have a common name. Be creative. Here's one of my clients wrote on the subject line, 7 characteristics for your next hire. Now, is that creative? Here's another one. Your WSJ article is what kept me up at night. Yeah. I got one recently, advice from a fellow Amex employee. And another one, I used to work for your competitor. You can go ahead and steal these if you want. Okay, another one. Keep it short. People have really low attention spans and always expressed attitude. So I want to give you some examples of ones. These are real people. If you notice that this person talked about how they met, I came across your company. Here talks about commonality. They've got food in common. And the authentic flattery is, I love the mission of your business. Now, I would have gone a little bit deeper. I would have told them what I love about the mission of their business. And guess what? There's a response. Love this. Thanks for reaching out. Let's talk. Here's another one. So how we met, I met you from the authentic flattery was your disclaimer on this article was perfect. And commonality was the city. She lived in a particular city. I knew a lot about that city. Now, here's what's really neat. So not only did she respond, but in this example, which is one that I'm giving you that I experienced myself, was I used voice. People use voice. It's great. In fact, so now, did I send you a voice message? I think I did. So yeah, use voice. It works. It separates yourself and it really works. Okay, let's do a recap since we're running out of time. I like put these in really simple words. So I created this for you. It's called Speak 3. Okay. So S stands for keep your message short. P stands for person in common. E stands for express gratitude. A stands for authentic flattery. C stands for, there's 3 C's, curious, commonalities, creative. Just remember, speak 3. Okay. Can we do another chat? I know we're running out of time. I'm almost done. So
yeah, real quick, what is one thing that everyone will commit to doing when it comes to reaching out? Let's see. Libby says, learn how to use voice. Simon says, be curious. Susan says, find like-minded professionals and connect, actually reaching out to people, talking with strangers, DMing strangers, using personalized invites. Yes, great takeaways.
Okay, yay. Okay. And speak three, remember that, right? Okay, let's talk about practice. So this is opening up that door. So my talk today, it fills up 20% of your brain. That's the insight, right? I just talked away. But here's the thing. Your brain, that's 80% is all practice. It's all mental muscle. It's all about doing it, like Nike, do it. So if you're having a hard time doing it, then you'll want to take this assessment, which was one of the gifts that I shared earlier, but I want to share it again because what I see is a lot of my clients have a hard time with the 80% doing it. So Jess, could you enter in again that assessment link so they can have that and they can look for that blue button?
Sure thing.
Yep. Okay. Okay. And I am offering a free interpretation of the results. So if you take the assessment, what's going to happen is you're going to get a report, not from me, from Shazard, from Stanford University. So you get this report. If you want to learn more about the report and what it says, you can forward it to me. You can even take a picture of this because it talks about the steps that I do with my clients. You can forward it to me and then we'll set up time and I'll interpret your results for you so that the job search process doesn't have to be so hard. Okay, now, tell me just one thing, one top learning that you got from today.
What are your top learnings from today? Curious to know.
Just one.
Mary says the keywords on my LinkedIn dashboard is something I didn't know about. So that was pretty cool. Talking to strangers, modifying my profile. Susan says only one. I know it's hard to pick. Merritt says the all-star feature, how to interact with strangers. Yeah, Trisha says I have a lot to update on LinkedIn. Yeah, it is hard to pick just one. There's so many.
Okay, good. Okay, yay. Okay, now we're get to have a little fun. I'm giving away a gift. And it is a 1-hour session with me. Yay. Okay, but here's the thing. I'm going to ask you a question. Anybody have a drum roll?
Yes, please only answer this question if you are interested in the 1-hour session with Miriam.
Okay, so you're put a question up here and the first person that answers the question right gets the prize. Are you ready?
Yes, so before we go ahead, whoever answers the question correctly first, they will get a direct message from Jess and she will reach out asking for your email address so we can connect you with Miriam. All right, I think everyone is ready.
Are you ready? Okay, here it is.
Here we go. What country is ranked 15th for top LinkedIn users?
Yeah, thanks, Linda.
It's not the US or Canada. A lot of.
Yeah, it's not right. It's in Europe.
Please chat it to the general chat, not the not individual chat, not to me.
Yes, we did have someone enter the correct answer, I believe. So Jess will be reaching out to you.
Okay, yay!
Congrats.
Excited.
And what is the answer?
Netherlands.
Yes,
and
Netherlands.
I have, and just to of a side note, one of my favorite LinkedIn rock stars is from Netherlands, and he's just amazing. So that's kind of probably what influenced me to pick this number 15. Okay, let's go on. Okay. So something else I want to give as a gift too is if you're not sure if a coach can help you or work with the coach, or are you ready to work with the coach, I do have, it's on my website. I give it out all the time. It's something I wanted to share with all of you too, especially here with my Jobscan people, is this no cost assessment. It's 5 minutes, but it'll help you determine whether you are ready to work with a coach if you're interested. So can you put that in the chat box too?
Yes, Jess will definitely drop that link in the chat as well.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And let's see. All right. And something else I'm giving out, lots of gifts today. I am also giving out and this is just for the Jobscan tribe. So if you're here today, I'm giving out a complimentary 20-minute session. So I opened up my calendar for next week, even some slots today. And yeah, if you want me to look at your profile, or you've got some questions that you want to have a more deeper answer to for those 20 minutes, I'm happy to help you.
Yes, and just dropped all those links in the chats. Thank you, Jess. And as we wrap up, let's go to some questions. I know we had a lot coming in through the chat, and we'll take as many as we can right now. Let's see.
Should I end? Should I stop the video now, or?
You can actually go back to your last slide if people want to.
Okay.
Those links as well. Yep, there we go. A lot of people are asking about accomplishments. What if your accomplishments are not necessarily quantifiable, and if they are, how would you get that data and actually, be able to quantify them?
Yeah. Sometimes if they're not, it depends if you have like an about number, like if you can say about or estimated or even a range, I think that's okay. There's another school of thought that says, well, wait, if it's about, it doesn't sound right. Well, for my clients, if there's a number that they feel comfortable with, we sometimes say range. Now, if you don't even, well, first of all, I guess I would back up and say, if you're working for an organization and when you do performance reviews, does it help you to track those numbers? So maybe moving forward, maybe you'd want to find out what those numbers are, right? If you did something, or maybe you improve customer satisfaction, or you reduce costs, or maybe you streamline something, or maybe you improved employee satisfaction for your career, you'd want to start tracking it now and see if you can. If you can't, then that's fine. Then just don't put the numbers in, and then just, work on it moving forward, and just have your accomplishment statements. You can just say improved customer satisfaction. And maybe what you could do is, while you're there at your organization, maybe you could find out how much you improved satisfaction, or maybe it's, something that you did had an impact to the business to move forward. So think about, what that looks like. And like I said, if you don't have numbers, then don't put numbers in. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Amy asks, how do you write a headline when you're trying to change careers?
Yeah, so focus in on your targeted career. So if you've got experience in your targeted career, or any kind of words or keywords that are reflect that targeted career, you can use that. Now, if you don't, if let's say, you want to be a project manager, and let's say you're account manager. Well, if you've got no project management experience, then start getting it, volunteering, start doing in your current job, start doing project management work so you can gain that experience now. And and then try and just, the other thing I would just say is just see if there's something that you can do now that you can sprinkle in that headline, right? So, maybe your account manager role, you talk about accounting and business development, but could you add in project management in your headline? Mm-hmm. So does that answer the question? I want to make sure that I'm answering.
Yes, thank you, Miriam. Cindy asks, I've been told that open to work isn't good to have on my profile. Does it make you appear desperate?
Yeah, okay. So for open to work, you've got two options. Okay, LinkedIn gives you two options. You can click open to public, and when you click open to public, it gives you that green frame that you see on LinkedIn. But if you don't click open to public and you click just open to recruiters, it won't give you that green frame. So first I wanted to help you understand the difference. Okay. Then there's this whole like controversy on LinkedIn about whether you should showcase it or not. I happen to think that the recruiters that I talk to, that example that I gave you, they're going to enter in, most of the time, they're going to enter in job title and location. So my thinking is that, and you can click open to recruiters because they'll get that too. So I would say, click open to recruiters and not necessarily open to public. I think that's what you're asking, right? Is that should you show that green frame open to public? And I go back and forth about that. I'm leaning toward no, I don't. Oh, actually, I did. I take that back. I did look at some data recently, and the data showed that no, it didn't add any value. So, what you could do too? Try both ways. Try not showing it and try showing it and see what happens. But so did that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. Payal asks, what should be the headline for a fresher? I believe that means freshman or someone with 0 years of work experience.
Yeah, so great question. So you can go ahead and use the experience, maybe you did through your education or maybe through your volunteer experience. One thing I would say for those people that are just becoming, on board in the workforce, create the experience yourself, right? Volunteer. And I've got clients all the time where, you volunteer and you create that experience, or maybe you do a project on your own and you showcase that project. So that's one thing I would say. But as far as your headline, you can use, during your education, I would pick out, even if you work during your education, you can pick out those keywords from your education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice. And I know we had a lot more questions coming through, but we are just about out of time today. So we are going to wrap it up now. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today and taking the time out of their day for this hour or so. Miriam, we really enjoyed your presentation, and I hope everyone walks away today with some new tactics for LinkedIn. If you would like 20% off Jobscan Premium, you can go to the promo link on this slide, and I believe just dropped it in the chat. That link gives you 20% off either a monthly or quarterly plan, and that quarterly plan does come with a 2-week free trial as well. Unfortunately, our No Fear Job Search event is also coming to a close soon. We just have one more session left on how to use Jobscan if you would like to learn more about our tool and platform. If you want to register for that, you can do so at jobscan.co/no-fear. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Miriam.
Yeah.
That is it for today's presentation, but feel free to leave this slide up, Miriam, and we will leave the chat box open for any more networking or comments as folks start filing out of here. Thank you, everyone. Good luck in your job searches.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you had fun.